His name was Aaron Hale, and life had taught him to wake up before dawn and sleep after exhaustion. He had become a single father at 28 when a winter illness took his wife in a matter of weeks, leaving behind a small apartment that smelled faintly of medicine and a 3-year-old daughter named Lily who clung to his leg as if the world might take him too. From that moment, survival became a routine, not a choice. He worked at a municipal maintenance department fixing streetlights and broken benches, then drove for deliveries at night. His hands were always nicked, his back always sore, but he never complained because Lily laughed easily, and that felt like wealth. Years passed in a blur of school drop-offs, unpaid overtime, and quiet evenings where he read library books aloud because they were free. He learned to stretch meals, to repair shoes instead of replacing them, and to turn embarrassment into discipline. What he never learned was bitterness. When strangers were kind, he remembered their faces. When they were cruel, he absorbed it silently and moved on. He believed that dignity was something you carried even when no one saw it. He met Vanessa during one of those rare moments when life paused. A colleague invited him to a community fundraiser at a renovated warehouse downtown. He wore his only blazer, a little too tight at the shoulders, and felt out of place among the glossy smiles and tailored suits. Vanessa stood out not because she was the loudest, but because she looked like she had never doubted her place in any room. She was successful, organized, and used to control. She noticed him because he listened more than he spoke, because when he talked about his daughter, his face softened in a way money could not buy. Their relationship grew unevenly, like two people walking at different speeds. Aaron admired her ambition and precision, while Vanessa appreciated his steadiness and devotion. But underneath the affection, there was a quiet tension. She came from wealth built on generations of careful planning, and she had been taught early that love was dangerous without legal protection. When she visited his apartment, she noticed the peeling paint and the secondhand furniture. She smiled politely, but her eyes measured risk. When Vanessa proposed marriage, it surprised everyone, including Aaron. He hesitated not because he did not care, but because he knew what it meant to merge lives so different. He worried about Lily, about being judged, about never quite belonging. Vanessa assured him with efficiency rather than warmth. She believed structure would solve everything. That was how the prenuptial agreement entered their story. It arrived wrapped in professional language and calm explanations, outlining how assets would remain separate, how liabilities would be contained, how nothing she owned would ever be his if things failed. It was presented as reasonable, logical, necessary. Aaron read every page slowly, feeling each clause press against his pride. He understood her fear, but he also felt reduced to a liability, a problem to be managed. He signed because he loved her, and because he had already learned that pride did not pay rent. He signed because Lily deserved stability, and because he believed marriage was still about commitment even when paperwork said otherwise. When he placed the pen down, he felt as if he had agreed to be small forever. Life after marriage was comfortable but uneven. They moved into a larger home where everything had a place and nothing felt entirely his. Vanessa handled finances, investments, and decisions with practiced confidence. Aaron continued working, contributing what he could, never asking for more. He cooked, cleaned, and made sure Lily thrived in her new school. To outsiders, they looked balanced. Inside, Aaron often felt like a guest in his own life. The letter arrived on an ordinary Tuesday. It was thick, formal, and addressed in careful script. At first, Aaron assumed it was a mistake, another bill or a notice meant for someone else. He opened it while standing in the kitchen, the smell of evening dinner filling the air. The words inside changed the gravity of his world. It spoke of an estate, of a distant uncle he barely remembered, of assets liquidated and waiting. $10 million, clean and clear, left entirely to him. The man who had learned to survive on little felt dizzy at the number. It was not joy that hit first, but disbelief, then fear. He reread the letter until the words blurred. Memories surfaced of a quiet man who sent birthday cards irregularly, who once told him that patience was a form of courage. That man had watched from afar, invested wisely, and left everything to the nephew who never asked for help. Aaron did not celebrate. He did not tell Vanessa immediately. He went to work the next day, fixed a broken streetlight, and picked Lily up from school like always. That night, he lay awake, thinking not about cars or houses, but about security, choices, and the invisible weight that money could lift. He thought about the prenuptial agreement, about how it had defined him as poor, as someone who needed boundaries placed around him. When he finally shared the truth, it shifted the air between them. Vanessa listened carefully, her expression unreadable. She congratulated him, but something else flickered behind her eyes, something like calculation mixed with regret. The prenuptial agreement, once her shield, now stood awkwardly between them. The irony was sharp and quiet. What had been designed to protect her from his lack now protected him from her. Money has a way of revealing what patience hides. As arrangements were finalized, Aaron remained unchanged in his habits. He paid off debts quietly, set aside funds for Lily's future, and donated to the library that had raised his daughter on borrowed stories. Vanessa, however, began to see him differently. Invitations increased, expectations shifted, and subtle suggestions about joint investments surfaced. The balance of power tilted, and with it, the tone of their marriage. Aaron observed without confrontation. He noticed how respect replaced tolerance, how his opinions were suddenly sought. But instead of satisfaction, he felt a growing distance. The love he had offered freely now seemed conditional, shaped by numbers rather than shared struggle. He remembered signing that paper, remembered how small it made him feel, and realized something important. Love that needs insurance is not always love that lasts. He sought counseling alone, learning to name emotions he had buried under responsibility. He learned that self-worth did not come from endurance alone, and that being quiet did not mean being invisible. The inheritance gave him freedom, but clarity gave him courage. When he finally asked for separation, it was calm and irreversible. There were no dramatic scenes, only a mutual recognition that something essential had fractured long before money entered the picture. The prenuptial agreement did exactly what it was meant to do. It protected assets, but it also highlighted the absence of trust. Vanessa walked away with what she had protected. Aaron walked away with what he had discovered. The months that followed were transformative. Aaron reduced his work hours, spent afternoons helping Lily with homework, and enrolled in night classes for social work. He invested thoughtfully, not to grow richer, but to grow useful. He funded community programs quietly, never attaching his name. He built a home filled with warmth, rather than design, where laughter mattered more than furniture. Years later, he would stand at a school event, watching Lily speak confidently on stage, and feel a fullness that no account balance could measure. He had learned that wealth could arrive unexpectedly, but character was earned slowly. He had learned that being underestimated was painful, but it also protected what mattered most.